What's up, everybody? Thorburn here. Doing something a little bit different here. I'm going to start doing these hip shot videos. I know the revved up videos are a lot of fun. I'm going to keep doing those, but they are a lot of work. I write those out. So for some of them, I've written like 20-page scripts. I got to light them myself. I run two cameras myself, sound, teleprompter. I do all the research and find all the cut-ins, the editing. I end up spending about 40 to 50 hours a week just putting those videos together, and they're really good for larger concept ideas. But when it comes to just reporting on certain news or certain things that I want to point out to you guys, they're not really great for that. So I'm going to be doing these little videos. We call them hip shots, just shooting from the hip as I respond to certain things. Got the man with no name right here, the ultimate hip shooter. So today I want to talk about, we saw this tweet today from Caleb Hull, and it was this video of Justin Trudeau, and really, really creepy stuff. So let me go ahead and just play this for you guys here.
By asking all the moms to step out of the room for a minute so I can talk to your kids. I'll give you a second. Okay. By asking all the moms.
All right, so what he's doing is he's trying to address people's children without the parents in the room. So he's asking all the moms to step out of the room so that he can talk to your kids alone. That should raise some pretty big red flags right there. Anybody that wants to talk to your children without you there, distinctly without you there, should not be trusted. I mean, imagine if this was in real life. Say you're out at the supermarket, or you take your kids bowling and you're at the bowling alley, and some man walks up and says, "Hey, can I have a few minutes alone to speak to your kids?" What are you going to do? You're probably going to punch that guy in the face, and rightfully so. It's really creepy stuff, but we're seeing this a lot from the left today, where they do not believe in the family unit. They do not believe in the nuclear family. For leftists, a lot of them, they are leaning towards the socialist side. They want large government to actually control every aspect of your life. And in order for you to want them or to need them to do that, you need to have no other recourse, no other people to depend on. And typically the nuclear family has been the safeguard against needing to rely on external influence, external providers to keep things going. So they view the family as a threat, and that's where you get these creepy things like Justin Trudeau. But it's not just Justin Trudeau here. This isn't an isolated thing. Recently, in The Atlantic, David Brooks wrote an article called "The Nuclear Family Was a Mistake." And he says here, "The family structure we've held up as the cultural ideal for the past half century has been a catastrophe for many. It's time to figure out a better way to live together." They actually get that very backwards, because if you go back beyond the past half century, the nuclear family was a very solid unit. It was a very solid foundational block for society. In the past half century, society has been a catastrophe for the nuclear family, not the other way around. So as the left tends to do, they always get things exactly backwards, and they do that again here with the nuclear family. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this article here. Some of the things that they say. It starts out. He's giving he's talking about the Barry Levinson movie Avalon, and he goes through this scene where one of the brothers gets to Thanksgiving dinner late, and they've already cut the turkey, and it starts a big fight. He's all mad because they started without him, and let's see, where is it? They go on to say that right here, when you violate the protocol, the whole family structure begins to collapse. Now, for any of you guys who have a family, which is probably most of you out there, you're going to know that families always bicker and they squabble and they have different things that get under your skin. I've got a twin sister, and if you think we didn't fight and bicker, and we didn't always get along very well ourselves. So, but that doesn't mean that the entire family structure begins to collapse. It just means that sometimes you're going to violate each other's senses of propriety. But at the end of the day, you love each other. And it's that love that holds you together. So you're going to stick together. And if in times of need, no matter how much you don't get along, no matter how much oh, I can't stand my brother, I can't stand my sister, we fight like cats and dogs. At the end of the day, you still have each other's back when it really matters. That is what the family is for. So the video, the article goes on, and he talks about the movie for a while, but there's this part that he gets to right here where again you see that they just get it totally backwards. It says, but then because the nuclear family is so brittle, which it is not, the nuclear family is not brittle. The nuclear family is strong. It's been sabotaged and put upon and attacked by society and different cultural influences over the past 50 years that has certainly weakened it. But a strong family unit is anything but brittle. So it says in many sectors of society, the nuclear family is fragmented into single-parent families into chaotic families, or no families. Now, they act like this operates, and you can see that. Let me highlight that for you guys right here so you can read it yourselves. Now, they act as if that all happens in a vacuum, as if the society is just fragmented over time, as if there was no outside pressure that actually caused that to happen. What they fail to mention is that society itself has fragmented the families, and it's been done through different political moves. So, say welfare for one, and different cultural moves like feminism. Feminism has been a big dissolver of the nuclear family. It started teaching women, oh, I don't need a man to raise a kid. I can do it all by myself. Anything a man can do, I can do better. But at the end of the day, a man and a woman, a husband and a wife, a father and a mother, they are cooperative units that each provide a different set of strengths that are supposed to counteract and balance out the strengths and the contributions of the other. And so we've had all kinds of things that have said, oh, we only need one person, or in the case of welfare, we've actually had certain situations. I mean, you especially see this in the black community after the passing of the Great Society in 1964. They actually financially incentivized men or women to kick men out of the homes, and they'd send welfare officers to the homes, and they would give the checks, but they would have to check and make sure that there was no man in the family. So if the man was, there and providing the love and support for the child, but maybe he was a low class worker, and the welfare checks were providing more monetary help than the man was. Well, now all of a sudden, the instant need of that money incentivized the woman to kick the man out of the house. But what that took away from the child was the man's contribution, the father's contribution to raising that child. And women cannot do everything that a man can do. They cannot play every role that a father can play, especially when you're talking about raising boys. I don't think there's, once boys start getting to that age, they start hitting adolescence, and there's not a whole lot of a single mother is going to be able to do to control their actions. That's why you see the rates of incarceration for men from single mother homes is so much higher than that from two-parent homes. They simply can't. A woman simply cannot do what a man can do in terms of influencing that child. Now, likewise, a man cannot give everything that a woman can give. So it's a very cooperative process. But we have through welfare, we financially incentivized kicking the man out of the house. You've dissolved certain family structures there. And then as well as feminism, implanting within women the idea that they don't need a man to raise a child. Well, maybe you don't need a man, but guess who does? The fucking child. The child needs that man. So we've had all kinds of things that have actually caused the dissolution. It has not happened within a vacuum, as this article tends to state. They completely neglect that the family has actually been under attack by these different external elements, and that has been causing the problem, not the nature of the nuclear family itself. So one of the things that we also look at here, he goes on to say, and I'll highlight this here. He says, if you want to summarize the changes in family structure over the past century, the truest thing you can say is this. We've made life freer for individuals and more unstable for the families. We've made life better for adults but worse for children. We've moved from big, interconnected, and extended families, which help protect the most vulnerable people of society from the shocks of life, to smaller, detached nuclear families, a married couple and their children, which is actually a nuclear family, um, which give the most privileged people in society room to maximize their talents and expand their options. The shift from bigger, interconnected, extended families to smaller, detached nuclear families ultimately led to the familial system that liberates the rich and savages the working class and poor. No, this is not true. This is utter bullshit. Even lower class families, if you stick together, if a husband and wife sticks together and goes through the rigors of raising a child together, that child is going to be better off no matter what class you come from. You're going to give that child a better chance to actually utilize the American ability of class mobility. Um, so they're acting like this shift just occurs in a vacuum, and that going from an extended family to a nuclear family leads to further deterioration. I personally never had a large extended family. It was mostly just my nuclear family. My dad's from Norway, so most of his side of the family was still over there. Um, and my mom just didn't have a very big side of her family. Her father died young, and her mother died when I was younger, so there just wasn't a whole lot of us. But we're still a very intact nuclear family. So I don't understand what they're talking about in terms of how a lack of extended family has a deterioration on the nuclear family. And it's the nuclear family, that localized family, that is really important in raising children. They're the ones that are there every day. They're the ones that are providing the influence day to day in their life. What they seem to do is that they seem to think that this whole thing has just happened in some sort of natural order, that the family has just dissolved on its own, and that societal pressures have not been what have occurred. And even if they do give some sort of credence to the idea that it is culture and society and our way of life that has deteriorated the nuclear family, that doesn't mean that the nuclear family is what was the mistake. The mistake is actually a lot of the social and cultural changes and societal changes that we have made. One of the ways that I often like to look at the nuclear family is I kind of like to look at it as a human body. So think of the human body, and the nuclear families are the cellular building blocks for society, just as in our cells are the building blocks for all of our different, for all the different aspects of the human body. So, and the families are the cells. The localized communities are the organs. So you have certain cells that make up your heart, which might be this community. You have certain cells that make up your liver, which might be another community, however many miles away. But then you expand, and then you go to your states, which are going to be your anatomical system, so your respiratory system, or your cardiovascular system, and then your country, your society as a whole is the entire body. So you can kind of see how the families are that cellular building block of your entire civilization. But as the cells break down, so does the body. It doesn't go the other way around. It's not as the body breaks down, so do the cells. So they have it entirely backwards. If you spend your whole life smoking, I'm talking about cigarettes though. If you spend your whole life smoking a pack a day, you don't say that having lungs was a mistake. It was the smoking that was the mistake. And I know I'm sitting here saying this as I smoke a cigar. So, a cigar a day has almost zero impact on your rate of getting cancer or anything like that. So, not to sound like a hypocrite here, but you don't sit there and say that because you smoked a pack a day and you end up getting lung cancer, that having lungs was the mistake. No, it was the smoking that was the mistake. So just as we see the dissolution of our nuclear family units through different societal changes, we don't stop and say that the nuclear family was the mistake. Because back when we had healthy nuclear families, society was much more self-reliant. Society was much stronger. We had certain community structures. And that has fallen apart because we've devalued that. And because we've actually financially disincentivized that. So it has not been that families have served to, or that families have been a failure for many people. It's that society has been a failure for the family, which has then been a failure for many people. But the reason that they want to abandon the family is because they want to keep you dependent. They want to push this narrative that, just because everybody doesn't have a family, that we need to get away with, we need to do away with the idea of families. What we need to do is actually stop some of the cultural degradation that has been going on, that has taken away the influence of the family unit. But you can't look to the left to do that, because that is not the left's end goal. They do not want to see you being self-reliant. They do not want to see tight-knit family units that can prop each other up. They want to be able to control your lives. They want to be able to have all of this external influence on you, so they don't want you to have nuclear families. That's why you see Justin Trudeau sitting here saying, "Parents, leave the room so I can address your kids." Well, pardon me, but fuck you. If I don't have any kids, I'm hoping that I do at some point in the near future. I got to find myself a good woman first. But as I've already railed on feminism, feminism has made good women few and far between these days. That's a topic for another day. But and you can go back and watch one of my recent revved up videos on Bernie Sanders, where I kind of talk a little bit more about how the goal is to atomize you, so that you actually don't have anybody else to depend on, so that you are reliant on them. But when you're reliant on them, they always will be able to hold that over you. It comes at a cost, and you won't be able to control your own life. You won't be able to make what you want out of your own life. It really is it creates a kind of soft slave-like system where there's all kinds of strings attached for you to be able to do anything that you want to be able to do, and that's not a good thing. Self-reliance is the American way. Tight family units is the American way, and we shouldn't be getting away from that. That's what made us such a strong society, that led us, among many other factors, that let us become such a strong powerhouse influence in the world. And if anything, we need to be getting rid of a lot of these certain ideas and certain, prescriptions, policy prescriptions, that have been deleterious to the family unit. We need to get back to what strengthens America, what strengthens the family unit, because when you have a strong family unit, you're going to end up with strong individuals. You're going to have individuals that have a backbone, that have an ability to stand up for certain belief structures that they were raised by their own family. And if you are a parent, you want to be able to raise your kid with certain values. You don't want them to you don't just want to pop out a kid and say, "Here, guys, it's this is for you to raise now. My job's done." No, you love your kid, so you want to see what's best for them, and you have ideas for what's going to work best for them, and you want to be able to instill those values in your child, where the state could have complete opposite values, and you don't want to give them that sort of control over your offspring, over the people that you love. Um, so what we need to be doing is not blaming the family unit and saying that the family unit was a mistake. We need to be saying that a lot of our cultural choices have been mistakes, and we need to start backtracking on a lot of that. And we can start with welfare and feminism. I'm going to talk in much more detail on my ideas about feminism at a later date, and I think it's really destroyed a lot of women, and has a path of destruction behind it that has really had a bad effect on children as well. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is how we have a lot of the left going after the family unit. And I'm not going to go through this whole article. It's really long. It's like a book, and he talks in that. Well, he writes it in this way that is very hoity-toity, high and mighty. I mean, of course, it's the Atlantic, so you can expect that. But either way, stick around. I'm still getting used to doing this off-the-cuff video thing, so the first ones are probably going to be pretty rough here. But stick with me here, and hopefully I'll have some interesting things to say, some interesting things to point out. But for that, have a good one.